Sophie Cunningham is screaming. She's clutching her knee, unable to stand, while 15,000 fans sit in stunned silence. This isn't just another basketball injury. This is the moment that exposed everything wrong with the WNBA right now. A player with a history of dirty plays just took out Indiana's heart and soul. Her family is calling out the league publicly. And this is just the latest in a pattern of dangerous play that's spiraling out of control. But what happened next will shock you even more than the injury itself.
Sophie Cunningham suffered a right knee injury on this play, and despite the potential severity of the injury, a big conversation point around this is that the WNBA is not doing enough to protect the safety of their players.
Let's start with the moment that has everyone talking. During a recent Connecticut Sun versus Indiana Fever matchup, we witnessed one of the most concerning plays of the season. Sophie Cunningham, who had become the heart and soul of the Fever during Caitlin Clark's absence, went down with what appeared to be a serious knee injury. But here's where it gets controversial. This wasn't your typical basketball injury. The collision involved a player with a history of questionable plays, and fans immediately began questioning whether this was really an accident or the inevitable result of allowing reckless play to continue unchecked. Sophie Cunningham had been everything to the Fever. Since Clark's injury, she stepped up as the defensive anchor, the emotional leader, and the player willing to do whatever it took to win. She was averaging double figures, shooting over 50% from three-point range, and providing the grit and toughness that kept Indiana competitive. When she went down clutching her knee, unable to put weight on her leg, it wasn't just a player getting hurt. It was watching a team's season potentially crumble in real time. The silence in the arena said everything. This was different. This was serious. But here's what makes this situation even more troubling. This wasn't an isolated incident. We're seeing a pattern of dangerous plays across the league, and the same names keep coming up in controversial moments. Take a look at recent incidents, players being yanked down by their hair, dangerous collisions that seem to target vulnerable areas, and physical altercations that go beyond competitive basketball. We're talking about plays that, in any other professional league, would result in immediate suspensions and serious consequences. The problem isn't just one player or one team. It's becoming a league-wide issue where physical play has crossed the line into dangerous territory. Veterans and rookies alike are speaking out, saying the game is getting too chippy, too reckless, and officials aren't doing enough to maintain control. What's particularly concerning is how these incidents are affecting star players. When your marquee athletes are getting injured due to questionable plays, it raises serious questions about the long-term health of the league. Fans tune in to see elite basketball, not to wonder if their favorite players will make it through the game uninjured. When players get injured, it's not just about statistics or playoff implications. These are real people with real families who are watching their loved ones get hurt. And in this case, those families aren't staying silent. Sophie Cunningham's family members took to social media immediately after the injury, and their words were powerful. Her sister called out the league's officiating as pathetic and flat-out dangerous, questioning whether the WNBA is doing enough to protect its athletes. Her mother went even further, directly criticizing the pattern of reckless play and calling for accountability. These aren't just emotional reactions from upset family members. These are informed observers who watch every game, who see the patterns developing, and who are calling out what they perceive as systematic failures in player protection. The fact that families feel compelled to speak out publicly tells us something important about the state of the league. When the people closest to these athletes are going public with their concerns, it suggests that private conversations and normal channels aren't working. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, officiating. Throughout this season, we've seen inconsistent calls, players getting away with dangerous plays, and a general sense that referees have lost control of games. The question isn't whether refs are making mistakes. That happens in every sport. The question is whether they're allowing a culture of dangerous play to develop because they're not calling fouls consistently or severely enough. When players know they can get away with overly physical play, it escalates. What starts as aggressive defense becomes reckless collisions. What begins as competitive fire turns into dangerous targeting of opponents. Look at the technical foul situation. Players are getting technical fouls for arguing calls, but we're not seeing proportional punishment for plays that actually endanger careers. The message being sent is backwards. Express frustration with words, get punished. Risk another player's health with reckless play, and you might get a common foul. This creates an environment where players feel they need to protect themselves because the officials won't. That's not sustainable, and it's not professional basketball at its highest level. When key players go down due to questionable plays, it affects entire organizations. The Indiana Fever, already dealing with injuries to star players, suddenly found themselves without their defensive anchor and emotional leader. But here's where the story takes an incredible turn. Instead of folding after losing Cunningham, the Fever rallied for one of the most impressive comebacks in franchise history. Down by double digits, they clawed back to win a game that seemed impossible to win. Kelsey Mitchell stepped up with a superstar performance. Odyssey Sims, who had just signed on a hardship contract, played like a seasoned veteran. Role players contributed in ways that stats can't measure. It was basketball at its most inspiring, a team refusing to quit despite devastating circumstances. This comeback wasn't just about basketball skills. It was about character, resilience, and the kind of team chemistry that can't be taught. It showed that while dangerous plays can hurt individual players, they can't break the spirit of a team that refuses to give up. The question is, should teams have to overcome these kinds of obstacles in the first place? Should player safety be left to chance, or should the league be doing more to prevent these situations? This brings us to the core issue. What is the WNBA's responsibility when it comes to player safety, and are they meeting that responsibility? Every professional sports league faces this challenge. Players are competitive, games are physical, and injuries happen. But there's a difference between unavoidable injuries and those that result from a failure to maintain proper standards of play. When we see patterns of dangerous play from specific players, when families are speaking out publicly, and when star players are getting injured in questionable circumstances, it raises serious questions about league oversight. The WNBA has worked hard to build its profile, attract new fans, and establish itself as elite professional sports entertainment. But all of that progress is at risk if fans start to believe that player safety isn't being taken seriously. Other leagues have faced similar crises and implemented solutions: stricter enforcement of dangerous play rules, more severe penalties for repeat offenders, and better training for officials on player safety issues. The question is whether the WNBA will take similar steps before more stars get hurt. This isn't just about one injury or one game. It's about the future direction of women's professional basketball. The WNBA is experiencing unprecedented growth in popularity, viewership, and cultural relevance. New fans are discovering the league every day. But growth brings scrutiny. When casual fans tune in and see dangerous plays that aren't being properly addressed, it affects their perception of the league's professionalism and commitment to athlete welfare. The timing couldn't be more critical. With expansion teams being added, new television deals being negotiated, and more mainstream media coverage than ever before, the league needs to demonstrate that it can maintain the highest standards of competition while protecting its athletes. Young players coming up through college basketball are watching too. They're seeing how physical play is being regulated at the professional level, and it affects their expectations and preparation for their own potential WNBA careers. The league has an opportunity to be proactive rather than reactive. Instead of waiting for more serious injuries or more public outcry, they can implement stronger player protection measures now and demonstrate leadership on this issue. So what can be done? The solutions aren't complicated, but they require commitment from the league office, officials, players, and teams. First, more consistent officiating on dangerous plays. When players make reckless contact that puts opponents at risk, it needs to be called immediately and severely. Players adapt quickly when they know certain behaviors will be penalized consistently. Second, stronger consequences for repeat offenders. Players who develop patterns of dangerous play need to face escalating penalties that actually deter future incidents. A common foul isn't enough when someone's career is at risk. Third, better communication between the league office and team medical staffs. When players are injured due to questionable plays, there should be immediate review and assessment of whether additional action is needed. Fourth, more comprehensive training for officials on recognizing and calling dangerous plays before they result in injuries. Prevention is always better than punishment after the fact. Finally, clear public communication from the league about player safety priorities. When fans, families, and players themselves are questioning the league's commitment to safety, transparent communication about policies and enforcement becomes essential. The Sophie Cunningham injury and the Indiana Fever's incredible comeback tell a story that's bigger than basketball. It's about resilience in the face of adversity, about teams refusing to quit when everything goes wrong, and about the kind of character that makes sports compelling. But it's also about systemic issues that need addressing. Player safety can't be left to chance, and dangerous play can't be allowed to continue without consequences. The WNBA has built something special, a league that showcases elite basketball while inspiring fans around the world. Now they need to protect what they've built by ensuring that their stars can compete safely and professionally. The good news is that solutions exist. Other leagues have faced similar challenges and found ways to maintain competitive intensity while protecting athletes. The question is whether the WNBA will act decisively before more players get hurt and more families have to speak out publicly about their concerns. What do you think? Is the WNBA doing enough to protect its players? Or do we need to see more aggressive action on player safety? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more coverage of this developing story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.